Good afternoon, Elaine. This is Tom, the designer from Justwood Furniture. I hope you're doing well. So, Chris has been on site. He's looked at your beautiful home and he's taken some notes and some pictures, some dimensions for me to create your first draft for your bespoke fitted furniture design. And this is it. So, what I intend to do in this video is I'll go room by room. I'll show you just the top level first draft that we have. But do bear in mind that this is simply a place to start. Often we find with bespoke cabinetry, our clients need to see something before they can start giving us feedback and relaying their thoughts. So do bear that in mind as I'm showing you this. It probably will look a little bit generic, and it is, because I don't know what it is that you need. And part of the journey is the more you're able to get involved with this and give me data and feedback, the more we're able to tailor this to your needs. And as part of that, I just want to quickly show you this guide that I will send over to you, but hopefully this is a good visual to show you what we're talking about. So if you look at the camisole vests here on the left hand side, so typically they say about half height hanging is a metre on average and tall hanging is 1.6 metres. Let's just say that that space is a metre. Well, look at all of that space that you've wasted, you know, and why don't we put a shelf just below it? And then look at all that free space you've just opened up for some other use case. And this is the opportunity that's afforded to you with bespoke cabinetry, is it really is maximising your internal space to give you exactly what you need. So that's a journey we'll go on together. I can share this reference to you so that you have it. But that's just a couple of ideas to start. So what I intend to do in this video, if my computer will comply, let's start that again. Okay, so what I'll do in this video is I'm going to start with your master bedroom and then we'll go on to bedroom 2. And in bedroom 2 I've split it up into side A and side B. So it's effectively 3 different designs, just so that I can show you the room a bit easier and the design. So let's just start with the master bedroom and open the doors. So here you go, let's take off the doors and let's have a look at what we have inside. So starting from the left, that's cabinet A, that's cabinet B, C, D, E, F and G. So all of our cabinets are made up of a left panel, a right panel, a bottom panel sat between the two and a top panel sat between the two, and then a back panel that covers absolutely everything. And it's important to know that difference because not every cabinet maker does that. So we're a full-on box, and the reason why it's of benefit to you to have a back panel is it gains you some structural rigidity, so it stops the box from doing this, you know. We're able to screw through the sides and the bottom panel and the top panel. We're even able to screw through the back and into the backs of shelves so that it gives even the shelves additional rigidity. That means that our cabinets are quite heavy and quite rigid, but we like that. That added rigidity gives it structure, gives it strength, and ultimately reliability. So let's start with cabinet A. What have we got? For now, we've just kind of got a generic half height hanging space. Typically what we do is we come as close as is reasonable to the angle there. So we could probably raise this up a little bit if you wanted to make this space smaller and maximize the half height space down below. Equally, you could just leave it as is and put a shelf there and maybe just put pumps, sandals, you know, really small flat shoes at the bottom there. Equally, this could store your trousers, and maybe the drop of your trousers is to about there, folded on the trouser rail. Well, look at all that lovely space you've got below there to maybe put a shelf at the top and then maybe one in the middle to kind of split those two sections up. So these are the ways we can start breaking this up to really maximize the offering to you. And to the next one, what have we got here? So this is what I would consider a long hanging space. And, you know, we're in Devon. Not everyone here has much need for ball gown dresses or long dresses for that matter. So they may say, look, I've only got about that much worth of hanging rail that I would need to fit in a space that high. Well, let's just say I put a vertical division there, so you've only got this much of a rail. Then all of this space to the right of that vertical division, well, let's just start pillboxing that and making a bunch of shelves all the way up. And the reason you may want to do that is for one of these. Now, the benefit of these boxes is it's great. It's got a little handle on the front. They're very lightweight. You can have, you know, jogging tops, jogging bottoms, or one kind of underwear, another kind of underwear. And we're able to make the shelves perfectly sized so that if you wanted to pull your fingers above, you could, or simply just pull on the handle. Whip it out onto the bed, put it onto the bed, and sift through the clothes that you need for the day. And that, you would be surprised at how much that maximizes the verticality of your cabinetry. To be frank, hanging rails are a bit of a waste of cabinets when you see through the lens of these boxes, because, for example, you don't really need to put your jumpers on a hanging rail. The main benefit of a hanging rail is to preserve its shape, protect delicates, to aerate your clothes, and to stop creasing for shirts and blouses and things of that nature. So there's only really a select handful of things that really need to be hung, and maybe trousers, for example. Some people like to hang trousers long ways from the waistband, which I think is a bit of a waste. I think you can nicely fold them, which most people do. Fold their trousers along the seam over your hanging rail, and that means it takes up significantly less space. It probably only fits, when you fold your trousers over, that's as much space as it really needs. If that was a space all for trousers, well, look, if you just put a shelf below that, look what we could do below there. Put shelves, you could put a vertical division, you could have another small hanging rail there. The world is your oyster. So as we go through, we can talk about these various ideas, and that's part of the fun. So we don't need to make all the decisions now, but by all means, get a piece of paper, draw some ideas out, take some measurements of your own clothes. If you imagine an infinitely long hanging rail, say from there to there, and let's say you only had this much of hanging rail, but you say, look, I've got that much of dresses, I've got that much of blouses, I've got this much trousers, and my trousers are from that height to that height. My dresses are to that height. I'm throwing ideas out here, but if you measure the drop, so from the rail to the bottom of the garment, and how much width of rail that set of garments has, and you order them smallest to tallest, we're going to get a really good picture of what bias you have and what you need. Some people go and measure it and say, well, I've got about 2.8 meters worth of total storage. And then what I can do is say, well, okay, let's have a look at what you have. And I'll do that exercise very quickly for you now. So let's just start with cabinet A. And if we go to my calculator, so you've got 55, and then we'll go to that again, will be another 55 presumably. Yep, 55, another 55, another another 55, and we've got a pull down rail at the top, which is a bit less, let's just say 50, and then another 55 for the fixed rail, and then another 55 in cabinet F. So in this current configuration of hanging rails, you have about 3.8 meters worth of hanging rail if you were to just put it all on one rail, which when you start picturing it like that, you go, oh god, that I don't think I have that much storage. And then when you start thinking in context of these storage boxes as well as that rail, you really start to think, okay, maybe I have too much rail here. Let's start having more generic shelving so I can actually store winter duvets or an overnight bag, things of that nature. Something that other people do as well is they have things like ironing boards. You know, they say, look, let's segment this space, excuse me, let's leave this space on the right of the hanging rail exclusively for my ironing board, and then my iron can fit up here, you know, with your ironing bits, so that if you want, you can just whip it out, do all your ironing there when you get your washing up to put in the cabinets. So there's all sorts of little tricks like this that we can do to really make this yours, okay? So again, let's just whip through everything really quickly in this cabinet, and then we'll move on quickly because I'm mindful of the time here. So half height hanging for cabinet A. We've got a tall hanging for B. Obviously these are just spaces are left over above. Half height here. These spaces are intended for the boxes. Pull down rail there. The benefit of course of a pull down rail is it pushes it out of the way. You can then use the full verticality. It's not always possible to have this on anything less than about 44 centimeters wide. So if you put a vertical division there, say, I don't think you could get a pull down rail to fit in that space. That shelf you probably couldn't get a box on because it's a bit too small and because of this falling geometry, but you could fit it in the rest of these ones. The same goes for here. That's a tall hanging space, and then I've done the same thing here for boxes. I've pigeonholed them, though we can do it as you like. It could be make one shelf at 32 off of the bottom, and then make another shelf 35 off the bottom, and then another one 38 off the bottom. It can be as bespoke as you like. So do bear in mind, because of the falling geometry of the ceiling, your doors have to open towards the high side. You cannot have doors opening towards this way with a falling angle, and vice versa this way. You cannot have doors open towards that angle. They have to open towards that side. So you'll notice this cabinet has hinges on this side. That cabinet's also right hinged. This one's also right hinged. I followed the same thing for this one, right hinged. However, the next cabinet is a left hinged, and then these last two are also left hinged doors. Everything that you see in all the rooms is currently in a melamine faced MDF range. I will attach the melamine faced MDF PDF to this email so that you can sift through and give your feedback on the materials. And if you did explain to this on Chris, do forgive me. Sometimes I get a lot of data very quickly that I have to process, so do bear that in mind. Okay, so that's the master bedroom. Let's just run through quickly sides A for the bedroom 2 and side B. So this is the drawer set. I've stopped it short of the angled ceiling because I'm mindful that you have a compounded angled ceiling, and it can be hard to represent that in my software. So we've created a sort of fluted panel, do excuse me, on the left, though it's only representative for now, just so that you get an idea of what this design is about. The countertop is about 1 metre off of the floor, though we can absolutely dial this in to your liking. The higher the countertop is, the more the internal box spaces, of course, expand. They all expand fairly equally when I increase the countertop height, so do bear that in mind. Equally, we could subdivide this if you would like, though that starts getting a bit more complicated to make sure drawers are equal and such. So do bear that in mind. If you would also like, let's just open up the drawers. We can subdivide with fixed divisions this way. So I could put a panel like so in the middle of the drawer. I could even create a horizontal drawer so that you can have socks of one variety, socks of another variety, and then leave that side for another type of underwear. So there's loads of ways we can subdivide these and make them fit your needs. So do let me know if you have any thoughts for fixed divisions on the internal drawers. So that's bedroom 2. Let's move swiftly on to the second bedroom now, as we're coming up to, oh god, 16 minutes. Okay, so similarly to the master bedroom, it's a similar shape, though as you're aware, it's got a bit of a lopsided ceiling. Okay, so it's not an equal falling angle. So let's remove the doors, and again, we've gone for a similar sort of design. We've got, for cabinet A here, we've got a tall hanging and then squared off the angle as close as is reasonable. We've got a half height section for cabinet B at the bottom here, and then these are more of those boxes that I talked about. Of course, this you couldn't put a box in as you've got quite a severe falling angle there. And then we've got 2 pull down rails for both of these cabinets. We've split all 4 of these with shelves across all of these cabinets. The benefit of the shelves is sometimes people like them so that they could put little knickknacks or rings. Sometimes people like to put perfumes or aftershaves and sit the bottles just kind of there, as maybe some of their garments just fall short. Some people don't like their clothes touching the shelves. Some people do not care because they're tucking it into their trousers, and they just iron the rest of their clothes. So this is entirely driven by what you are after specifically. Okay, so if you think that wouldn't fit my blouses, we need to know, and then we can dial it in accordingly. Okay, so these two are of course the same, and these two, so cabinet B and cabinet, what's that, B, C, D, E, F and G. So E and B are identical, and then F and G are more of the same, so it's half height hanging, shelves above, and absolutely no drawers in here. The understanding is that you've got a drawer set opposite this, so that's why I haven't included any of this. And for the master bedroom, I figured because it's a lot of storage, do you really need a drawer? And when you have drawers, don't forget that they have additional mechanisms, so it will increase or lose you a bit of internal width and space, and it's not really optimal for storage. It's nice to have sometimes, but sometimes if you're just trying to fit as much as you can, these solutions are better. So that's everything from me today in this video. I hope you found it really informative. Do bear in mind, as I said, this is a place to start, and with your help I fully intend to dial these cabinets in. If you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know and I'll do my best to answer your questions. The next steps, I would advise setting up a design meeting with me here in the workshop. I'm fairly flexible next week, so ping me across an email if you'd like to set one of those up. Equally, if you're not able to next week, maybe you can send your feedback to me, and then we can book it for the following week after that, or something similar. So my name's Tom, thanks again, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. So till then, bye for now.